we originate from the city of brotherly love. This afternoon, it's the Lady Knights of Rutgers versus the Longhorns of Texas in the AIAW Championship Final.
Here we go!
Number 5, Jenny Hall, 8 of 8 from the field. What a ball game she had against Villanova. And the senior Chris Daly, she's coming to her own this year, playing some fine basketball. Terry Dorner, she has a big task this afternoon, stopping 2 tough centers underneath. Lady Knight team, Mary Coyle coming out the point guard, and of course Patty Coyle. June Olkowski has been absolutely incredible as an inspiration off the bench. There is just nothing stopping her right now. She is so determined to win this thing. You can see it in her eyes. Knights will be shooting at the basket to our left, Texas to our right here in this first half. And set to jump it up, it will be Smith and Dorner. Annette Smith and Terry Dorner to tip it up. Tip is controlled by the Lady Knights.
I would like to start with the uniforms.
Okay.
Can we please discuss them? Clearly, mine were the shortest. I don't know how that happened. I know.
They were really volleyball.
I think we used to fight over the short, and whoever was last or late, you would get the shortest pair. Clearly, I was last because no one else was as short as mine.
Pretty close.
So, did we have any fun together?
But where was the trip where the police escorted us?
South Carolina.
Oh,
Because there was a fight.
I know.
Yeah.
Bench clearing.
Yeah.
Oh,
When
yeah.
the hell did it start?
No, the girl.
Ladybug got punched in the face.
No. Was
No,
it
the
you?
girl hit me. Hit me and gave me a fat lip. And then you stood up and she popped you, and then you threw the ball at her, and then the bench was cleared. That was awesome.
So who did we play in the semifinal? Was it
Villanova.
Villanova? Okay, that's what I was
I enjoyed beating them more than Texas. What did we end up ranked that year?
Well, we were in the AIAW. But we beat everybody that was in the NCAA. We beat Tennessee that year, we beat UCLA that year, and we beat Cheney that year.
And then we
We
lost,
lost
to
to Louisiana Tech in the Garden.
But how did the AIAW kind of go out of
Business.
business? Yeah.
There were 10 years that it was in business. And that was the last year of it, because at that point, the athletic departments wanted just one governing body, not 2. It came down to money, what it always comes down to, and they went
I always
NCAA.
remember the concern was that the women were going to be forgotten, and that's why the AIAW was looking out for the female athletes, and then that was the biggest concern transitioning into the NCAA, was that the NCAA, while they were promising money, what were they going to promise in terms of, was it going to be equal? Were their opportunities going to be the same?
It was a season like no other, one that ended as strangely as it began, with 2 national champions cutting down the nets. On March 28, 1982, in Norfolk, Virginia, Louisiana Tech beat Cheney State to win the first ever NCAA women's basketball tournament. That same day, in Philadelphia, Rutgers upset Texas to win the last ever AIAW tournament. Both championships came amid a bitter power struggle for control of women's college sports. While one team etched its place in the record books, the other became a footnote. An overlooked squad of underdogs whose fight for respect still echoes 40 years later. This is their story. The Forgotten Champions.
Today, when people say you won a national championship, yes, we did, but we try to explain the difference. They have no idea what you're even talking about.
I think it's an incredible story. It kind of is a bit sad to me that, I haven't really heard about the story. I was born in 1982, so I guess it was a good year.
people have brought it to our attention, the forgotten team, this and that, and I don't know if any of us looked at it that way. We know what it meant to us.
I am grateful for those that played before me. They have paved the way. They were just tough, gritty. They were hungry and wanted to win a national championship, but I don't think they realized that it would then, in turn, change a lot of other things. The AIAW had governed women's college sports since the early 1970s, as schools across the country scrambled to provide equal opportunities for female student athletes after the 1972 passage of Title IX, a landmark federal civil rights law.
Very few schools paid any attention to the women's programs. It was really the emergence, honestly, of Title IX.
That changed everything for women's sports and particularly women's basketball.
When we started with women's sports, I was told that over the next 3 years, from 73, 74, and 75, you will bring in and organize 5 women's programs a year so that when we get to the third year, you'll have 15 women's intercollegiate programs.
When I took the position at the University of Texas as a coach for women's sports, it made headlines. Woman earns man-sized salary.
The president called me in. He said, we're going to begin to give scholarships out to bring them up to par with the men. And all of your coaches will be on contract.
To think that a girl could get a scholarship, that was just unheard of.
The NCAA, which oversaw men's sports, had spent much of the 70s fighting against Title IX. By the early 1980s, the NCAA had launched an aggressive takeover of women's sports, sponsoring championship events in direct competition with the AIAW.
What happened with Title IX, basically, is they were saying, well, you know what? In order for you to get federal funding, you have to offer these things.
Title IX had affected everybody, had forced men's athletics to share money, and that didn't go over big.
The only reason why the NCAA took over the women's sports is to control the money that was there. That was it. It was a federal mandate.
The AIAW claimed the NCAA was leveraging its control of men's sports to unfairly monopolize women's athletics.
It was all about finances because AIAW didn't have the financial resources to pay for women's teams to go to championships, and the NCAA did. They had all of their profits from men's championships where they could say to all schools, you don't have to worry about spending money on postseason play for women. I can save you $50,000, $60,000 a year. And at that time, no one wanted to spend more money on women's sports.
Quite honestly, I would have preferred to play in the AIAW because they were the ones that sponsored tournaments all along. But the problem was that there you would have to pay your own way. Cheney was a small school that didn't have scholarships. We had 3,000 students. We didn't have any money.
And the only ammunition the women had was philosophical. But we have an athlete's Bill of Rights. We're doing sport the right way. Are we going to follow in the footsteps of men's athletics, or are we going to do the right thing for kids?
As the legal battle played out in court, women's programs were given a choice for the 1981-82 school year. Stay with the AIAW or jump to the NCAA.
We believed in the AIAW. It had done so much for women's sports.
The school itself made a promise to the AIAW that they would stay put, even though 17 of the top 20 programs in the country had decided to make the shift to the NCAA.
Theresa wasn't thrilled about it, but she understood the situation.
I didn't have the choice, nor was I asked which tournament we were going to play in.
You got to remember the political landscape at the time.
Whichever one the administration chose, I would support their decision. And I certainly wasn't going to say to my players, this isn't where we want to be.
For us, Donna Lopiano happened to be the president of the AIAW in that 81-82 school year.
There was a gigantic power struggle between Donna Lopiano and Walter Byers, who was the head of the NCAA at that point in time, and their feuds and arguments were epic.
Women's athletics was run by women by physical education departments. As soon as Title IX happened, men's and women's sports were thrown together and they were put under the jurisdiction of men's athletic directors. The women didn't have a say for it.
Donna was very forward-thinking. Donna had been very active in leadership role in AIAW.
University of Texas women's basketball was, a leader, a model. We were not part of men's athletics. We had a separate women's athletics department. There were only 9 schools in the country like that.
Donna insisted that we were going to show our loyalty to the AIAW and not to give in to the NCAA. I remember very vividly how much I disagreed with that decision.
That 81-82 school year was tough for a lot of coaches like Coach Conrad.
As a coach, you feel like you want your team to have the most publicity, and you wanted to play where the majority of the teams were playing. I knew that the AIAW championship would not have the same media coverage as the very first NCAA championship.
Jody and I would always have these conversations. At that moment in time, it was an issue of principle that we disagree. We didn't disagree. At the end, we didn't disagree.
In retrospect, I totally agree with Donna's decision, and I'm very proud of the fact that the University of Texas did participate in that last AIAW championship.
I think it was the right thing to do, to stay with the organization that was with you at the beginning.
The NCAA pretends that there was that the women's basketball started in 1982. It didn't start in 1982. I'm here to tell you because I played.
The leadership in the AIAW, they knew the handwriting was on the wall.
The AIAW was helping pioneer women's sports, where I don't know if the NCAA, up until that point, was really doing that.
We all knew at that time that eventually the NCAA was going to take over. It was just a matter of time.
The coaches, they knew they didn't have a choice, so they made the best of it.
We were in the AIAW, and we proceeded to play the best.
They basically said, listen, we're still playing the schedules we're going to play because of the poll. Everybody was still measuring up to each other.
We played all the teams that were in the Final Four in the NCAA. We played Tennessee, UCLA, South Carolina, Louisiana Tech, St. John's, Villanova, Cheney. We played them all.
Rutgers entered the 1981-82 season with a veteran squad featuring 6 seniors. The Lady Knights had won 25 games or more for 3 straight seasons.
They could play with anybody. The kids on that team were all really special.
The heart of the team was a trio of players who had grown up competing in Philadelphia's legendary Catholic School League. All-American forward June Olkowski, and backcourt mates Mary and Patty Coyle, identical twin sisters.
I've never met more competitive people than those 3, and throw Theresa in there. I had no idea, honestly, what I was getting myself into.
The head coach of the Lady Knights, Theresa Grentz, was herself a Philly prodigy. The former All-American center had led tiny Immaculata College to 3 straight national championships from 1972 to 1974.
She was this new generation of prototype of the female athlete, a straightforward, tough cookie who brought this energy and confidence and can-do to everything she did.
It's the first time I saw a powerful woman.
She was as dominant as any college player of her generation. Unbelievable competitor. Made her teammates better. Great shooter. She had the perfect shot. Sports Illustrated referred to Theresa as the female Bill Walton because he was playing at the same time at UCLA.
That was a pretty cool thing. I'm not going to lie to you.
I think I was probably like 6th, 7th grade at the time. My father took me to go watch the Mighty Macs. And I can remember sitting behind the bench and watching her. And I thought to myself, wow,
I want to be like her. Patty and I would go to all her games.
I can remember in 8th grade, her coming to the high school that it was a big grade school tournament. And it was at St. Margaret, which was my high school in South Philly. And she gave out the MVP award, and I won that. And I distinctly remember meeting her for the very first time there.
Theresa was just no nonsense, right to the point all the time. And when she played, she was the same way. And sometimes she would play with us, against other guys. And, I remember her pushing guys and shoving guys. And I don't think they knew how to react back then, because women weren't really supposed to be playing basketball with men back then.
In those days, women's coaching was treated more as a hobby than a profession.
Most of us who coached in those early years did it for the passion and the love, and money was not even a factor.
No one paid for a basketball coach.
My first job at the college level at Sam Houston State, I actually taught 7 activity classes and coached 3 sports and thought I had the best job in the world.
I was teaching school at St. Monica's in South Philly for my daytime job. Drove here after work, and then you would practice. It's just what you did.
The only pay that I wanted is, please don't schedule me to teach classes at 7:30 in the morning.
The first year, I didn't teach school. I was laying cement. So I would get here, and I'd have my cement boots on.
At that time, our choices were we could get married, we could be a secretary, we could be a teacher, or we could go in the convent. I graduated in '74 in May and was married in June. And then I started teaching 6th grade.
Grentz was just 24 years old when Rutgers hired her as the country's first full-time women's college basketball coach.
She was actually the third choice.
They had offered it to Kathy Rush and Lucille Cavallis.
They were both local celebrities.
And both said no, and I interviewed and I got that job.
There wasn't a lot of money out there for anybody. It was an upgrade for Theresa. She had been coaching in St. Joe's. Rutgers offered her more money to come, and so she took a chance.
Once she came in, and her enthusiasm and her commitment, it was a no-brainer from my standpoint.
Theresa had a blueprint. Theresa had a vision.
Theresa was an absolutely great recruiter. And when she brought people into my office, they had that same enthusiasm.
She had known Mary and Patty and June since they were in 8th grade.
When I recruited them, again, I had known them so well. I was more like an older sister to them. And they were playing in the Philadelphia Catholic League. June was at Goretti, and the twins were at West Catholic.
I couldn't stand June. She hated us, and we hated them. It was such a rivalry. But as we started to play on the same summer teams,
AAU and then internationally,
we got to realize that she's just like us.
We understood where we all came from and how hard we worked and how much we loved the game.
Coyle's very, very tough, very competitive, would not back down from anything.
June, same thing, like her being a tough, hard-nosed city player.
We grew up in the playgrounds in Philadelphia. We had to constantly prove ourselves.
All 3 of them were heavily being recruited by Old Dominion at the time. Patty was set on going to Rutgers. Mary, ironically, her twin sister was so close, was still wide open. Patty says, well, I'm going to Rutgers. I don't care what you do. And Mary says, okay, I'm going too. So now their backcourt is set for the next 4 years.
We had to share everything. We went to the same school because we got to share the same clothes.
June was recruited nationally. Everybody wanted June.
She was more like a big kid is today. Just mobile, could play inside, outside, wasn't stuck just having to play under the basket. She could bring the ball up. She could rebound and bring it up. She didn't have to pass it to a guard. So those things, like I said, were new back then.
And Rutgers, at the time, had just given Theresa 2 scholarships. That's it. And she used them both on the twins. Well, now June wants to come.
I wanted her to be my coach. And I think I would have gone anywhere she would have coached.
All I remember is Theresa saying, I got to get a 3rd scholarship. So she goes in and pleads with the athletic director, Fred Granger. He finally relents.
She fought for recognition. She fought for support.
She knew that if she got these 3 kids, they would be the nucleus and the core group that she needed to make a run at a national championship. And that's exactly what happened.
In 1980, the Lady Knights reached the quarterfinals of the AIAW tournament before losing to eventual champion Old Dominion and National Player of the Year Nancy Lieberman. With her team lacking size, Coach Grentz added a pair of transfers to the mix for the 1980-81 season. Terry Dorner was a 6'2" post player who had excelled at a nearby junior college.
Dorner had a lot of raw talent, but Grentz refined that.
Chris Kirschner, a 6'4" All-American center at Maryland, wanted to spend her senior year closer to home in New Jersey.
Kirschner was clearly a superb athlete.
Back then, transfer rules were very different, so Chris Kirschner could transfer and play right away. And so that was like a really big deal, and there was expectation.
Everyone that year had listed us as a potential contender.
A team was good enough to get to a Final Four.
But after climbing as high as number 2 in the rankings, the Lady Knights saw their season come crashing to a halt.
I can still remember the day that June got hurt in the gym.
We were finishing up practice, and I got a rebound and turned, and I was bringing the ball down the court. Somebody stopped, and I crossed over and felt something. It wasn't contact, it wasn't anything. And I just went down, and it's a sickening feeling. I mean, because I knew I was hurt. I don't know if I was ever the same after that.
Olkowski's injury occurred on the same January day that she was named a finalist for the Wade Trophy, given each year to the nation's best player.
I didn't like it. I didn't like any of it. I didn't like the fact that I had worked so darn hard to get these kids and put them together, and here we go. This was the team. We built this. And I probably was a little contentious. I probably wasn't a lot of fun to be around.
The loss of Olkowski proved too much to overcome for a team plagued by nagging injuries and a lack of cohesion. Rutgers fell in the second round of the AIAW tourney.
Women's college basketball to get it going. The Rutgers Lady Knights eliminated from the AIAW National Tournament Saturday night, losing to Long Beach State 77-73. Theresa Grentz's club blew an 11-point lead. They led by 11 with 12 minutes left, so the Lady Knights finished their season 27 up and 6 down.
Olkowski would need surgery to repair torn cartilage in her right knee.
It was a disappointing finish. There was tremendous talent on that team, but there was something missing.
I just don't think the chemistry was right.
You do have to have a cohesiveness and a belief that is unbreakable in order to win the whole thing. And I'm not sure that we had played together enough to really have that. You know, we had 2 new pieces.
I was an All-American in junior college, and then coming in my junior year was like a shock, you know, just kind of understanding that level of play. I was playing a forward as opposed to center my junior year because Chris Kirschner was there. So they were challenges for me.
We came to the end of the year, and I had a recruit. She was there for a visit. And Patty Delahanty and June Olkowski were roommates. And I had called over to their room, and I had said, I'd like to show her your dormitory. And they said, okay. So they knew I was coming. Now, I had already made it a habit that when I would visit their dorm rooms or different things, which I did back then, I would always read everything on their walls. And I learned a lot about those players from reading those walls, different things that I didn't know before, but I'd read the walls, and they knew that. So I brought her over. And I walked into the room and introduced the player and said, this is June Olkowski and Patty Delahanty. And I said, okay, basically, give them the 1-2, the deal on Rutgers. And as that was going on, I was going around the walls, and I was reading. And then there was this one paper on this wall that I had never seen before. It was on a loose leaf paper, and it was a poem, and it was the story of footprints. Now, I had never read that. But it went on to say that a man was walking on the beach with the Lord. The man turns around, he looks back, and he says, only one set of footprints. This was probably at the most troublesome times of his life. And I'm thinking, well, this is right up my alley. This is me. You know, I've thought all these things. I've put this together. I've got this, got these kids. Here we go. One injury after another. This is just not, this is definitely me. The man says to the Lord, you know, I don't get this. You said that if I followed you, you'd always walk with me. And he said there's only one set of footprints. And the Lord said to the man, he said, when you saw only one set of footprints, that was when I carried you. Now at that point, I was so engrossed in this poem that I had not realized what was happening in this room. And this room was now filled with all my players. There were 2 in there, and now it was all of them, because I really probably had been a genuine pain in the butt to these kids. But they had no idea how to tell me. But on the poem, what it had said was, where it said young man, they had crossed it out. Everywhere in the poem, the 4 stanzas, and they had written, our young coach. When I turned around, I had no idea that they were all in the room, and they were all there. They said nothing, and I said nothing, but they had delivered their message.
I think that this team was caught up in sort of that tipping point between old and new. And, you know, in a lot of ways, Theresa is that thread that weaves through all of that.
I think it's a tipping point from when women's sports was purely amateur to when it became part of the business known as the NCAA.
This team was the last AIAW champion. It's natural for people to forget that this team existed because it was the last of the old as opposed to the first of the new.
What makes this story special is what was accomplished over the course of 4 years. They were knocking on the door of a national championship.
On December 3rd, 1981, the Lady Knights hosted UCLA and sophomore forward Jackie Joyner in the first college basketball game ever played at the brand new Brendan Byrne Arena.
Other than Nancy Lieberman, she is truly a woman in the basketball sense who needs no introduction. Theresa Grentz is one of the pioneers in women's collegiate basketball.
Theresa was a great player when she played for Immaculata, and I think she's brought the same kind of enthusiasm into her program here at Rutgers, and in 3 or 4 years made it one of the top contending teams in the nation.
I remember the excitement of playing in a brand new arena. I remember Jackie Joyner Kersey, like she was unbelievably athletic.
Joyner in with the shot, and it's good. Jenny Hall staying on the outside. She shoots, and she makes it. They pass it off quickly to Lori Lawrence. She goes all the way. She puts it up. String music for Lori Lawrence. 13-0. And they are putting the pressure on UCLA all the way.
I think we were surprised as we were doing the game because we thought that the game was going to be tight.
Teddy Coyle on the rebound to Mary on the give and go, and we have a 26-16 ball game.
We were up early by a lot, and they were never able to come back.
Junilkowski with the turnaround shoot, and it is good.
The final score, Rutgers 91, UCLA 69. Rutgers has blown out the 8th-ranked UCLA Lady Bruins.
To watch them emerge against a very good UCLA team and beat them by more than 20 points was again another hint of what was to come later on, that this team was really good.
Cheney State rated number 7 in the country, and Rutgers number 6 in the country. Here's what happened in yesterday's encounters. Old Dominion over Cheney State 83-55, and Louisiana Tech 83, Rutgers 73.
We had all we wanted yesterday with Rutgers, a very fine team.
Cheney State did not like Rutgers, and Rutgers did not like Cheney State. It's not that they disrespected each other. They hated each other.
Oh, look at this play. Beautiful tap play. 2-on-1 break. The Coyle twins. And Mary puts it in. Victory here with Rutgers. Inside Dorner. Terry Dorner. 27-23 for Rutgers and across the middle. Paul's pass. Delahanty's shot. The ladies can also hit the books hard. Beautiful shot by June Alkowski.
June weaseled away right around the baseline and had a nice up and in move.
Rutgers was 10-2 and ranked 3rd in the nation. But then, in an eerie coincidence, Alkowski re-injured her knee in practice, exactly 1 year to the day since first hurting it. And once again, the setback came on the same day that she was named a Wade Trophy finalist.
Rutgers women's basketball. Hello everyone, Roger Cohen here at the Rutgers Athletic Center. The Lady Volunteers from the University of Tennessee and the Lady Knights of Rutgers University. June Olkowski, we'll talk more about here, number 45. Take a look at that right leg. It's bandaged, so you see. Hasn't been bandaged in quite a while. She hurt herself. She twisted the knee yesterday. It'll be interesting to see just how well she moves up and down the floor.
Back then, we didn't know a whole lot about braces and knee injuries and different things.
Terry Dorner with the rebound out to June Olkowski. We'll slow things down. Just underway here, Rutgers versus the Lady Volunteers from the University of Tennessee. Jenny Hall with the first Rutgers shot. And Rutgers. And now Mary. And there's Tanya Have, a fadeaway shot. And we have June Olkowski down on the floor.
And she's holding the knee, Roger. It looks like it finally gave out on her.
Oh my goodness, how did this happen again?
She hurt her knee Friday morning in practice, so we understood the same knee in which she had surgery. She missed 16 games because of that surgery last season.
It was very difficult to watch a competitor like June Olkowski go down like that, and she was the heart of that team.
Now Tennessee definitely has a size advantage, so we'll see how Rutgers adjusts to this.
Four players in there for Tennessee over 6 feet, by the way, Carol. Jenny Hall with a nice move down the lane. There's Mary. Inside it goes. Nice feed from Mary Carr to Lori Lawrence. Inbound pass off the screen. Jenny Hall again. Terry Dorner. Terry Dorner getting the offensive board. It will count. Terry Dorner is playing one heck of a ball game.
Well, Rutgers with a 5-point lead going into the locker room. They have to feel very good about that with June Olkowski on the bench.
The Lady Knights prevailed that day, beating a Tennessee team that would reach the NCAA Final Four.
Tonight, a super matchup from the Rutgers Athletic Center in Piscataway. It's the 3rd-ranked Lady Monarchs of Old Dominion University against the 7th-ranked Lady Knights of Rutgers University.
They have two of the hottest female basketball talents in the United States, and they call them the Twin Towers. I think Ann Donovan at 6'8" and Janet Davis at 6'5" just could prove to be too much.
The wacky preparation they did for Old Dominion and Ann Donovan with Dorner, they had somebody holding a broom up so that Dorner would get used to shooting over someone, because Donovan was, 6'8", 6'9". It was unheard of at that time.
Rutgers with Terry Dorner, the tallest Lady Knight on the floor at 6'2", and with June Olkowski very, very questionable at this point.
Of course, there was some doubt initially. We were disappointed, especially for June, because she had worked so hard to recover and get back.
I think Rutgers certainly missed June Olkowski in the loss against Maryland. They missed her leadership, her experience. They get it into Donovan. They are having no problems whatsoever with the Rutgers press. Beautiful play. Malone puts it in off glass, and Old Dominion has opened up an 11-2 lead.
There you see June Olkowski moving up a little bit on the bench. It's unknown whether or not she'll see any action in this ball game.
We were a little bit uptight because she was our spiritual leader.
June Olkowski comes in. She will. Well, that answers our question, Roger. She will play tonight. Jenny Hall puts on the move. Nice play by Jenny, but it was blocked. And June stole it from Ann Donovan. Chris Daly, beautiful move, but it doesn't go. Inside Donovan, double team, turnaround jumper hits. 14-point Old Dominion lead. And the Rutgers fans are not used to seeing this, especially at home. June Olkowski loses the basketball. Donovan at the high post.
Very patient ball player.
ODU looking for the good shot. Donovan is inside now. She puts it up, and that should do it. And there's the announcement. She has now scored 2,001 points in her career, and an ovation from the crowd.
With Olkowski in and out of the lineup, trying to play through the pain, Rutgers struggled to find consistency.
It was hard. It was hard with June being hurt.
It was an emotional time for her and for us as a team, and for me, because I was rooming with her too.
Everybody else just had to pick it up a little bit. The twins, Patty Delahanty, Terry Dorner.
I've got to do more. We all have to do more. That was my thought.
But there was never a feeling where, we felt sorry for ourselves or our team or our chances.
In late February, after the Lady Knights lost back-to-back games for the first time in 2 years, Olkowski had arthroscopic surgery on her ailing knee.
To lose a player like June Olkowski the way they did, a team that was less disciplined would have certainly fallen apart.
We just all, came together, and it was do or die. It was the last chance for us to do it, so we had to do it.
On March 6th, with June Olkowski watching from the bench in street clothes, Rutgers opened postseason play against Temple in the Eastern AIAW Regional Tournament.
The NCAA has taken over women's sports. After this year, the AIAW will most likely be out of business. Nice pass, Dorner from Mary Coyle. Chris Daly underneath the Dorner. Jenny Hall. Oh, that'll drop.
That will go to the Rutgers highlight film, I'm sure.
Patty Coyle inside to Daly. Nice move getting by Maryland. Terry Dorner looking for some room. Was fouled, hits it.
Terry Dorner might very well be the most valuable player on this Rutgers team this year. With the Lady Knights, obviously they would like nothing better than to claim the final AIAW championship, and they're off to a good start here today.
A week later, Rutgers and arch rival Villanova squared off for the Eastern AIAW championship. The Lady Knights had defeated the Wildcats in January. The winner this time would get an automatic bid to the national tournament.
There was no love lost between the two schools. We knew them, they knew us. Distance was only an hour.
Hate Villanova. They used to come to some of the playgrounds that I used to play at. June might show up, and the Coils might show up at some place. I know I used to bring some players from my program over to play pickup.
We knew most of those girls, especially Mary and Patty and I. There were unspoken rivalries that were intense.
It was more like a big family, we all knew each other. They were the established team. We were the up-and-coming type team, so we knew if we could play with them a little bit, it would give us some credibility in the AIAW to get seated pretty high in the tournament.
It was not a gentle game.
It was a low-scoring game. I knew we couldn't win a high-scoring game.
It was like going back in Summer League all over again and, making sure that you, dotted the I when you had an opportunity.
We just grinded the game out and managed to win it at the end. And that was like our biggest win of all time at that time.
We were very disappointed, that we lost. We definitely wanted revenge.
Losing to Villanova at any time is motivation.
I can literally remember saying, they may have won the battle, but we're going to win the war.
With a record of 21-7, the Lady Knights secured an at-large bid to the AIAW tournament. But an air of uncertainty hung over the team. They had 8 days to regroup before their next game. 8 days to get right for one final run.
June was back and forth, not sure she could play.
Somewhere along the line, I went into her office and said, am I going to hurt us? Am I going to upset the apple cart?
She was so frustrated. I think she almost shut herself down.
We were talking in my office.
I trust you enough to tell me you can't help us, or you can help us.
Why don't you just lace them up, see what happens, make a go of it?
It was a difficult conversation to have. I probably cried because I'm an easy crier. But she said, no, you could help us. We'll find a way. You'll find a way for you to help us.
The AIAW tournament tipped off on March 21st with a field of 16 teams, and with Rutgers as the host site for the East Regional opening rounds. But instead of playing at the Rutgers Athletic Center, which had opened just a few years earlier, the Lady Knights found themselves back at the barn, the old College Avenue gym built in 1932.
That had to be the strangest thing at that point for everybody.
I researched it. So I was trying to figure out why were the games moved to the barn. It turned out, according to an article I think in the Bergen Record, that there was a science fair scheduled for the RAC, and they were not going to move the science fair. They couldn't move the science fair, so they had to play the games in the barn. And of course, I immediately said to myself, can you imagine if the men had been playing? I have a feeling the science fair would have been moved somehow.
It was what it was. This is where we're going to play. All we needed was a court. We needed 2 baskets, and they needed to be 10 feet high, and we needed one basketball. Forget about the rest.
We all felt the hunger of having that goal and the prize at the end of the line and what we had to do to get it, and we were not going to be deterred. Didn't matter. It didn't matter where the game was or who we played.
We had such good chemistry that we did not want to let each other down.
Leadership on that team.
We held each other accountable.
We trusted each other. We could say what needed to be said.
We were demanding of each other, and we weren't afraid to say things to each other that were not always what you wanted to hear, but what you needed to hear in order for our team to be better.
We took care of any issues, problems in the locker room.
Having that willingness both to say it and to hear it made us a special group.
The cohesion of the team that you saw on the court, you could also see off the court.
Chris was the glue. Yeah, no question. Yeah, Chris was fun.
I was Julie of the Love Boat. If something was going on with our team, I knew about it. I organized it. I made sure it happened. I knew about it, and we had a very close group.
Chris would call you on the carpet. That was something I think I really respected and admired. She never let the little things slide. No. And I think to this day, that's who Chris is. The little things matter.
I found my niche. When you're a role player, that's what you have to do. You have to find where you fit and how you can help the team.
With Chris Daly now in the starting lineup and June Olkowski coming off the bench, everyone was finding new ways to contribute. After beating Georgia Southern in the opening round, Rutgers met Minnesota with a trip to the Final Four on the line.
It was about to be the most important game of their careers.
This might be the last game I'll ever play. I just really wanted to get the thing started.
And last night, Theresa Grentz and her Lady Knights did get it started by finishing off the Gophers of Minnesota 83-75. Number 54, Terry Dorner, had the most spectacular game of her career. She scored a game-high 30 points.
Dorner at 6'2" was really the player they were counting on to really, give them that strong inside game.
Adding Terry was the big difference in our team. She was just so good and so strong as an ox.
I'm a fighter, I'm a scrapper. I would just do whatever I had to do to get a rebound. I'd do whatever I had to do to follow up on my shot. I'd get hit, it wouldn't matter.
June going down, I think Terry felt that she had to do more. It elevated everyone. Right. But it impacted her the most. Her true talent came out.
I wouldn't give up. I would come out completely exhausted. Kind of the premise of the rest of the team. Just we would do what we had to do.
But the one who stole the show was number 45, Jammin' June Olkowski. She'd been sidelined for much of the season with a knee injury.
It's a different role for me coming off the bench, and I really have to be in the game, and I have to perform immediately.
And perform she did, scoring 18 points, 6 of them all within a minute.
You couldn't help but, appreciate the talents and the hard work and to get back in shape after the knee injuries. It was quite something.
There was no way she was going to let us down.
Right. The Lady Knights were moving on to Philadelphia, back where it all began for Grentz and her 3 cornerstone recruits.
That final again, 83-75, Rutgers makes it to the Final Four.
Next up for the Lady Knights is the Palestra in Philadelphia. They play Villanova in the semifinals this Friday night.
The Palestra has always been a special place for me.
This place means a lot to anyone who's from Philadelphia.
The Palestra is kind of this iconic cathedral.
It's just part of Philadelphia sports lore.
Doesn't matter that it was built in 1927. It matters that it has great sight lines, that you feel like you're right on top of the game.
If you got the opportunity to play here
in front of your hometown people, your family,
you were a player. It was as if we finally arrived. This building has special meaning to us, and it always will.
They were playing in their backyard.
We got to play at the Palestra, and we weren't losing.
2 weeks after losing to Villanova, the Lady Knights would face their foe again in the AIAW semifinals.
I can remember not sleeping very well the night before.
The Wildcats had won 15 games in a row and were ranked 11th in the nation.
Having lost to Villanova And then knowing that we were coming back to Philly, I can tell you this, there was no way in hell we were losing a second time to them. There was no way we were losing. There was no way.
I told Mary Coyle before we went into the semis and the finals, I said, Mary, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to play 40 minutes in both games, and I'm not taking you out. So don't even look over there and think that I'm taking you out.
I didn't think we could win a high-scoring game. The Final Four game got into a track meet. They were pushing the tempo, getting the ball to the key players.
During the game, I didn't realize that I had missed a shot.
I kept telling our kids that we need to get this game slowed down a little bit.
I was just basically, playing my normal game and trying to win.
Jenny Hall was, in my mind, always a little underrated, but she brought so much to the Rutgers team.
You got to pick your poison. I think when you played us,
She could shoot the outside jumper. She had the quickness to go underneath.
I mean, she still has the best mid-range game I've seen. Yeah.
She didn't miss a shot. Got caught up in the running game. She got a lot of her shots on transition. I do remember her shooting perfect from the field.
When it was over, Jenny Hall had played the perfect game, scoring 24 points without missing a shot from the field or from the free throw line.
I didn't realize when I was interviewed after the game that actually happened.
She had a great game.
I could not get 2 words out of Jenny Hall most times. She was so quiet. She never wanted to be interviewed. She didn't like attention, but she was just deadly from the field.
When it was time to shine, she was one of the brightest.
I amazed myself, and I'm glad I saved my best for almost last.
While Theresa Grentz was turning Rutgers into a national contender, a similar story was unfolding at the University of Texas under Jody Conrad.
A team that I think could have very, very easily won the national championship if they played in the NCAA tournament that year.
Our identity was our guard play and our defense. It had been my philosophy from the time I came to Texas that we were going to try to play the whole court.
I don't think anybody had seen the game played full court pressure for 40 minutes before by women.
Once we got on the court, I mean, it was just like we were magnets. Everybody was on sync with each other.
The speed and the intensity.
We could just run and run and run.
The Longhorns came into the AIAW final riding a 32-game winning streak, after beating in-state rival Wayland Baptist in the semifinals.
When you think of the 4 teams that were there, Wayland, Villanova, Texas, and Rutgers were all really, really good. We had barely beat Wayland, I think, 2 weeks before in a regional game before we got to the Final Four.
One of the things at Texas, when you win a national title, the tower is lit in orange, and then it has the number 1 going down the center. And we wanted to do that.
It was so exciting. Getting on a little private plane, headed up north to a new area in the country.
Playing somebody different.
We knew that they were a strong program. It wasn't a team that was typically on our playing schedule.
As a team, we were always like, wherever we're going to beat you. We were that kind of cocky a little bit.
We expected to win.
We never underestimated anyone because anything can happen. We was just always prepared.
I think when you step on the floor at University of Texas, the pressure's always there.
We had pressure every day in practice. We challenged each other every day. So we knew we were going to get it done some kind of way.
I can remember when they came in the day prior to the game for their practice.
We were probably playing horse or pig. It was the end of our shoot-around. And I can remember Texas coming in.
It was a meticulously presented group.
And they all matched. They had these velour, burnt orange, warm-ups.
Every Converse shoe was just identical. The socks were the same height.
We were just kind of looking at them, sizing them up. They were sort of sizing us up.
They probably thought they were going to intimidate us, which wasn't going to happen. Theresa had always instilled in us respect everyone and fear no one. Yeah. We respected them, but we didn't fear them. Right.
They just seemed to be almost like too relaxed.
I can remember them coming down and thinking to myself, man, I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to beat them.
We just said, okay, they want to underestimate us. Okay, we'll be ready.
And I can remember thinking about that all night. Like, okay, we're going to beat them, but, how are we going to do it?
On the eve of the AIAW championship, Theresa Grentz found herself in a surprising place at the NCAA Women's Final Four as a founding member of the Women's Basketball Coaches Association.
I always believed in the good of the game, and the WBCA was having their first convention down in Old Dominion University, down in Norfolk. And I was asked to speak. So when we won on Friday night, I got on a plane Saturday morning and flew to Old Dominion to do the clinic. Did the clinic, and one of the last questions that one of the coaches asked me there was, "What are you going to do to win tomorrow?" And I remember the answer was, "I'll let you know on Monday."
Meanwhile, as Vivian Stringer was preparing her Cheney State squad for the NCAA title game, her young daughter was clinging to life in a Philadelphia hospital.
When my daughter contracted meningitis, my husband was staying, there at Children's Hospital because she was in intensive care. We were in a hospital from November through May.
Her daughter being sick, so much bigger, and really in the scheme of things than a national championship game.
She would never walk or talk again.
This was real life. This was her family. This was her daughter.
What touched me most is I didn't even know that Theresa's players, they went to the hospital.
Well, she was right here in Children's Hospital.
And I only found that out a couple of years ago. They sat in the hospital with my husband and Nina.
Chris and I went over and brought over like a little stuffed animal and sat with her husband for a while. And I know Chris went back a few times and sat with him in that weekend.
They never said anything. I had an opportunity to coach June. She never said anything. She would always say, "How's Nina?"
Coach Stringer, we played against her at Cheney. We had great rivalries, respect factor. And you would just want the respect if it was the other way around. You would want someone to support your family. And that's what we tried to do.
Good people. We had great competition, but they were there.
With emotions peaking, there was one more trip to make before the day was done.
I learned many years later that Mary went back to the playground where she grew up in Southwest Philadelphia and played, which I'm sure would not happen today.
Mary's nervous. She takes a trolley back to her old neighborhood and gets in a game with the boys.
That doesn't shock me one bit.
I followed Mary. She said, "This is what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do." I don't remember playing at Finnegan's, but I remember going with Jenny Hall and Mary, and that's what she needed to get ready. I could sit there and watch. She had so much excess energy that she needed to burn off, and hey, that was fine with me. When Patty and I left Philly, we got so much grief, and people just refused to talk to us. They couldn't understand why we would leave the city. We followed our hearts, and it was good for us to get away and grow up, and there were just so many more opportunities for us at Rutgers. This whole thing coming back to Philly, beginning of the year, we knew. There was an X on the calendar, what we were playing for. Theresa would always say, if we get there, we might as well win the damn thing.
I remember getting off the train and heading over the Palestra, and I think the realization of what I was about to experience really hit me. Oh my God, I'm about to do a national championship game involving Rutgers. Don't screw it up. That's what I was thinking about.
I think I'll always remember the last game, primarily because I listened to it on the student radio station. I was at the Final Four. I'm down in New Orleans. I just went to my room and called the station and I said, "Can you patch me in? I gotta hear this game." And stayed on the phone for an hour while it played. I wasn't gonna miss their last game.
There was no TV of this game, so we've never seen this game. But then we get a text message with a photo from Theresa's nephew, Brian, and lo and behold, there's a 16mm canister of a game film sitting in Theresa's house.
That has never been opened in 35 plus years.
So we were lucky. The film was in perfect condition. Pristine condition because it hadn't been opened.
We were definitely the underdogs, but no one knew what we went through all those 4 years to get there. No one knew our relationships on the court.
I knew what Texas was. Jody Conrad, fabulous Hall of Fame, great coach, legendary coach. Her team was going to be well prepared, and they had great athletes and great players. But that didn't mean that we couldn't play either. And that's the way I always looked at it. Kind of like, maybe there's a little chip on our shoulder, like, We're not so bad. It's Rocky. You're not so bad. You're not so bad.
I knew this was going to be a war.
That was a very high-level basketball game. It was the springboard for the University of Texas program to really establish ourselves.
Texas was a young squad, starting 1 junior, 3 sophomores, and a freshman.
What I always would do to prepare for a game is I always would try to find the media from the other team. And this is 1982. We knew nothing about Texas. None of us had seen anything. So I wanted to find out as much as I could so I could be ready.
We were so young and not realizing that maybe this was a little bit more experienced group that we were playing. But back then I didn't know that, which is probably a good thing.
They had Annette Smith, who was the best freshman in the country. They had Joy Williams, who was really physical player underneath. They had Cheryl Hoglum.
Estelita Whaley and Terry Mackey. Everyone that played at the University of Texas came from winning programs. There was no excuses because you're young. We knew how to win.
They had won 32 straight games.
They really respected June Olkowski, the Texas media did. Terry Dorner, they really thought was going to be a problem. They just saw the game that Jenny Hall had against Villanova where she was lights out. And they were talking about, the front court matchup should be really even.
Nobody was nervous. We was just ready.
So I said, well, what about the backcourt matchup between Mackey and Whaley versus the Coils? And I will never forget this. They leaned back, looked at each other, laughed, and said, the Texas backcourt is going to blow away the Coils.
We watched them play the day before we played them, and we were talking about the Coil twins. We looked at them and said, hey, we're more athletic. We're faster. We're supposed to win that battle.
They had great guards, super quick guards.
It was going to be no contest to us.
I just was like, are you kidding me? I've seen the Coils play for 4 years. Nobody blows away the Coils.
Everybody was telling us how good we were. Everybody.
There was a lot of talk about how they were just going to be our worst nightmare, and I don't think they knew who we were.
We kind of had the big head in going into that game.
I remember walking away from that thinking, either this backcourt is the greatest backcourt in the country, hands down, or they have seriously underestimated the Coils.
All our life, we were too slow. I mean, you heard kids say it. Not athletic. Not athletic.
I heard it a lot. Believe me, I heard it a lot.
And we didn't pass the eye test.
I think there was a doubt in people's minds.
They used to call them the Campbell Soup kids, which would just irritate them a little bit more.
Everyone always overlooked their skill, their knowledge of the game, and their anticipation.
The Coil twins, Mary and Patty, were basketball players.
They were excellent passers, ball handlers.
They knew how to shoot, and they knew how to stick it right to you.
Annette Smith and Terry Dorner to tip it up.
We were a running team. We got most of our points in transition. We were all agile. We could all move. Coach was a genius. She had a machine going.
Drop pass nicely inside for Annette Smith, and Smith lays it up and in. Now inside for Smith, and Annette Smith puts it up and in. Hoglum drives in, pulls up, left side jumper. It's good.
They were good. They were very good. They were athletic. They were tough.
Going to be taken by Mackey. Mackey quickly ahead to Smith. Smith drives, lays it up and in.
The first half didn't go so well. We were a little bit everybody came out really nervous. We were a little out of our rhythm.
Rebound, Terry Dorner on the offensive board. She puts it up. That's no good. Olkowski, beautiful fake. Puts it up. That's no good. Rebound taken. Jenny Hall with it over to June Olkowski. Her jumper, no good off the back of the rim. Rebound. Fight for it. It's going to be taken by Mackey. Nice pass inside for Dorner. Dorner puts it up, an air ball. No good. Dorner puts it up off the back of the rim. No good. Fight for the rebound. We have another whistle. Terry Dorner being snake bit out there. She just has not been able to hit the easy shot.
I really did want to prove myself because I felt that we were underrated. I was out to show them, how good we were and how good I was and that we could keep up with them.
We were beating people not only 15 points, but 20 points, but it came from our defense and mostly from that jump switch press.
Theresa made a very smart decision. Throw the ball to Mary and everybody else get down the floor.
You could probably get 8 to 10 points right off of our transition steals. Of course, it was a shock when that wasn't really going as, the way that we wanted it to.
There was no question that their pressure wouldn't bother her. That was the least of our worries.
The buzzer sounds, so that is the story at halftime, 37-34.
I knew as soon as our shots started dropping, it would be a different story. I can remember being in the locker room, grabbing Patty and saying, you can't miss shots.
Mary Coyle to Patty Coyle, right side. She stops, pops, and hits the rainbow jumper. Patty Coyle from the outside.
And she looked at me. I think she had missed maybe one shot, and you can't miss shots. And
Down low for Patty Coyle. Coyle spinning, looking, and as she throws up the running one-hander, banks off glass and in. Coyle with it. Patty Coyle looking around. Patty Coyle puts it up off glass and in. 31-30.
I couldn't wait to get back out on the floor.
Part of my role on this team was to be the point guard for the scout team. So my job was to try to make Lita and Terry better in practice every day. We knew the Coyles were feisty, intense.
That's why she didn't call us pit bulls.
Yeah,
That's what we were known as, pit bulls.
I remember one of my challenges being just be mean, just be feisty, pinch somebody, or you just get after it.
She definitely hit the nail on the head. I never pinched anyone. I can't say I pinched anybody either. I might have pushed them. I might have pushed them and smacked them and hit them with an elbow, but I don't recall ever pinching anybody. That's funny.
Yeah, that's funny.
They matched us possession by possession in that basketball game. Those guards, those Coyle twins.
Here comes Smith. Feeds for Whaley, who drives, lays it home. Bounce pass to Patty Coyle, lays it up and in.
That threw us for a loop.
For some odd reason, they ran on us. They're doing to us what we would normally do to other opponents.
She'll give it off to Patty Coyle. Lady nice long lead in the forecourt for Dorner. Dorner drives, lays it up good, and a foul.
I don't think that we were overwhelmed by the situation. When you coach young players, they don't know any better. I think they might have been, and I was as well, shocked at how talented the Rutgers team was and how solid they were.
Mary Coyle tries to work it up. She does across the midcourt line, switching hands on the dribble.
Mary Coyle brought that ball up under pressure the entire game.
I can distinctly remember saying to myself as I was defending her, surely I can steal this ball away from her, because that's what I did. I mean, I was supposed to get my 4 to 5 steals that I get every game.
She was a terrific defender. Yeah, she talked a lot too during the game. You know, how she was going to take the ball from me, and yeah, okay.
I could not take the ball away from her. She was very poised, and it shocked me.
We had prepared our whole life for that moment. And for me, she was just not another defender. Yeah, she was quick as lightning. She was in my grill the whole game. But my thought was, if I could just create space and to keep her off balance, I'd be okay.
Being guarded by a Whaley. Mary Coyle on the left side. 5:20 to go in the game. Mary Coyle on the left.
I felt like the Coyles could pretty much hold their own against anyone.
We had faced so many kids growing up in the city that were just like her, with the athleticism, the quickness. There's a toughness about Philly guards. If you don't grow up here, you don't understand.
They were city guards. Up the playground, I would pick them over some of the guys that I knew because I knew their intelligence level. I wanted them on my team, because I knew they were going to be steady with the ball, and I also knew they were going to give me the ball. You know what I mean?
The way we played the game was how we grew up. Tough, just intense all the time. That's who we were. We're 2 of 8 children, and we grew up in a row house, and we grew up in the city, and you had to fight for everything. I think it was just in our makeup, in our DNA.
We were a very aggressive team.
I can distinctly remember going into the second half of the game with 3, maybe 4 of us were in foul trouble. And that kind of, tied our hands a little bit as far as playing the basketball that we knew how to play.
And the foul will be on Joy Williams, and for Williams, that's number 4. 41-39, Texas by 2.
It seemed like every second the whistle was blowing.
There were some calls there that we were like, what? Where did that whistle come from? Who did it this time?
Hassled by Leda Whaley, and Whaley called him a foul.
Down in Texas, we played a little bit more physical than they allowed us to play up there, so we had to alter our game as a result of it.
If you're playing in the South, you're used to people coming at you, used to being a little bit rougher. It looked like we weren't kind of out of our element when they started making those calls.
Ball is loose now, and a foul called. Big news, Annette Smith now has 4.
Every conference, the officiating's a little bit different. There were lots of fouls called in that game.
But that really wasn't what got us beat. I think the experience played a great role for Rutgers.
Hall at the top of the key. Goes down low, Dorner, lays it up good, and a foul. Beautiful play by Terry Dorner.
Dorner struggled during the first half, but did really come alive in the second half and was really instrumental in keeping Rutgers close in the game.
Right side, loops it inside of Dorner, lays it up and in, and a foul. Dorner puts it up, good. Yes, it is good, and a foul.
We finally got on a roll. We finally started playing the way we were capable of playing, and we just let our skill take over.
She gives it off for Mary Coyle. Long lead for Jenny Hall. Hall stops, pops, and hits.
I just remember thinking during that game, it's like Texas can't quite believe that this is happening to them.
Scoring for Rutgers wasn't really a problem. Our defense pretty much, we worked hard, but we didn't have a lot to show for it.
Drives on the right side, over to Hall, back for Patty Coyle.
Patty Coyle just caught fire like crazy in the second half.
Down low, Patty at the baseline, lays it up, good, and a foul.
And yet June Olkowski playing on half a right leg couldn't throw it in the ocean that day.
Down low, Olkowski puts it up. It's short. June drives baseline now, puts it up. Off the rim, no good.
She misses her first 10 shots.
The June Olkowski, her jumper, in and out.
And I'm going, oh, God.
June was 0 for 10. We're in a timeout, and June says, I can't hit anything. And Chris Daly says, yeah, we noticed. Would you get a few rebounds?
She was struggling, missing a lot of shots, but you still felt that, just her presence there was important.
The June Olkowski, spin around jumper, in and out. June goes to the basket for the rebound, and we have a jump ball. June Olkowski did a great job, 65-61, under 6 to go. Mary Coyle. Looking, gives for June Olkowski on the left side. Behind the head pass to Patty Coyle, lays it home. What a play. June
Wow. Who makes a pass like that?
Instinct.
Haven't played with each other for 4 years. It's just instinct.
June had done that before, other games, other situations in practice.
We hadn't played.
It was Celtic High, correct?
Celtic High.
Because they were in pressure and they were denying the wings. Ball goes in the high post, it's automatic back door.
We were in a 1-4, and Terry Mackey was playing Patty on the wing, and Annette Smith was playing June. And June went to make the backdoor pass.
And I didn't really look too much when I threw it this way. But when the girl was there,
Annette Smith was there with her hand.
So I went over the head.
Mary Coyle. Looking, gives for June Olkowski on the left side. Behind the head pass to Patty Coyle, lays it home. What a play. June Olkowski had her back to the basket. She just sent the pass over her head to Patty Coyle.
We had a rule. If you went back door,
keep going.
There was no stopping or restarting.
Because so many times the play gets messed up.
If you went, you went. And June knew, throw it to the box and I would get there.
And if I didn't, Patty would have been so mad. I was open. You should have thrown it.
So she flipped the ball over her head backwards. And I thought, well, they're in Philadelphia. Let it go.
That was a good pass. That was a good no-look pass. I mean, we just missed our defensive assignment. I mean, we fell asleep. She went back door. We were beat.
That was definitely a game changer.
I have to realistically say it was really not very good defense, but I also acknowledge the fact that it caught us totally off guard. It was a key basket at that point in time.
That hurt.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough. Even the reenactment was tough as we were watching some of the clips from Rutgers reunion.
That definitely gave us energy.
For Hall. Down low, Olkowski to Dorner. Lays it up and in. Lady Knights lead 69-61. Texas wants timeout.
We were all excited, jumping around. Like, I don't even know how Theresa got us to calm down, to listen to what she had to say, in the timeout.
We realized we needed to regroup, regain our composure. We were in foul trouble, and that did not help the situation. And we weren't used to being down, especially by 8 points in a game.
Mackey over to Hallgrim, her jumper. There's down low for Smith. Smith, a beautiful move, puts it up and in. And suddenly the lead down to 4, 74-70. And Texas applying the pressure in the backcourt. Olkowski, long feed for Mary Coyle. She has to hurry to get to it. Feeds for Dorner, leads it home.
June made a great pass. She threw it away from the defense because they were really denying us. I can't believe I caught it. I can't believe I caught up to it. And then, but just trusting that Terry was going to be where she was supposed to be.
And we're going to have a foul on Terry Dorner. And I believe that's number 5 on Terry. And the end of Terry Dorner's career.
After Dorner fouled out in that game, she's exhausted. She had nothing left in the tank.
And Terry gets a standing ovation from the crowd here. Terry crying.
I felt like, I needed to be there for the team at the end, and I wasn't. And I remember I think it might have been June said to me, "Look, we'll take over now. Don't worry about it. You did your job," and that made me feel better.
We'll have a whistle before the shot. The foul's going to be on Chris Daly.
I was a foul waiting to happen.
And I believe that's going to be it for Daly, and it is. So quickly, Chris Daly's gone.
I know I fouled a lot, but I probably had 2.5 fouls in that game, and that was it. I think there were questionable calls.
Paulgren stops and pops, and hits. 77-75. Suddenly it's a 2-point ball game.
And I thought that was the opportunity for us to get going.
Over to June Olkowski. June drives the lane, puts it up and in. Clutch basket by June Olkowski.
Great players make plays when it counts most. June was a great player.
Williams over to Whaley. Whaley tries to feed down low, intended, still loose, still being battled for in the corner. Let's see what they're going to call here. They'll call a Texas ball. Well, what happened?
Wow, that's a tough call. She gave them the ball? Yeah. I think she pointed the wrong direction.
What happened was the ball was batted around in the corner. It was knocked off of several people like a pinball machine, and finally it went off. They're going to give it to Rutgers. Now they're changing the call.
Of course it was the right call.
Absolutely. Now they're changing the call. Referees being very indecisive today. And the Texas coach can't believe it, but Rutgers gets a big break. They get the ball, a 4-point lead, 1:34 to go.
June made a great, once again, she makes an unbelievable play. Had nothing to do with scoring.
Possessions were key, and that's the only thing I wanted was the possession.
It was definitely out on Texas. You threw it off the kid's leg, and it hit the baseline.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that was really, it should have been as controversial as it was.
Yeah. After looking at the replay, I definitely think it should have been our ball.
But clearly, we saw that ball went off of Rutgers.
I remember standing up and going, no, and it's like a dream.
It was crucial timing in the game. We were just trying to come back.
But instead of being a turning point for us, for the University of Texas, it kind of deflated us.
Her first is good. 80-75. The second one up and good. 50 seconds to go. Whaley, long lead it goes for Jones. It goes out of bounds. Rutgers with the ball. 46 seconds to go. They have a 6-point lead. That is the 9th turnover for Texas. Texas is going to have to. That is the 9th turnover for Texas. Texas is going to have to foul right here.
It was like somebody stuck a pin in you and all the air came out.
I think they handled adversity better. I think when there were swings and momentum, it seemed that they weren't as affected as we were.
They had been tested more times than we had been tested.
They had the basketball experience to handle anything that we might have done.
Had a long lead for Mary. Behind the back pass for Delahanty, lays it up and in!
Is get the ball to her as quick as I can. I think I knew the game was over. I figured, Theresa couldn't yell at me too much.
40 seconds, 83-75. Rutgers is on their way to the AIAW title.
We knew we were going to win. We started coming back up the court, and Mary and I looked at each other. We started walking up the court, and we saw our bench to the left and all our fans and our parents, and we walked to take it all in. And then Theresa yelled at us because we didn't run it. We didn't run to get back.
The Lady Knights have done it. They are AIAW champions for the 1981-82 season.
I do remember that was a very special moment, just to stand there and see everyone just exploding with so much excitement.
I think I was filled with such a sense of relief, all the noise that we had taken when we had left the city. Now all of a sudden, the biggest moment of our careers, we're back home. And it was, God, we're champions.
It was a relief. This is what I wanted for 4 years. We finally did it. And thank God.
To win it there for those kids was a added special significance.
Patty Coyle played the best game of her career and the last game of her career. It was amazing.
We never thought that a guard would score 30 points against Lita Whaley or Terry Mackey. It was unheard of.
But she doesn't do that without Mary.
Mary was my eyes. She was an extension of my personality. She played 40 minutes in the semifinal game. She played 40 minutes in the national championship game and had 1 turnover. Now, what do you think?
Look at the stat sheet. I mean, June Olkowski had 4 points. You hold Terry Dorner to 40% shooting and June Olkowski to 4 points, you should win the game, except for the fact that the Coils were indomitable that day.
They beat us at our own game.
I don't know that I've ever had teams go against guards that were any better, that were more fundamentally sound and more intelligent about how they played the game. Even though it was 40 years ago, I still think the Coils were as good a guard combo as I ever competed against at any level.
Actually speechless. Wow, I'm shocked. I'm overwhelmed. I'm awed by what she said is very humbling. And for someone who we've had so much respect for, I've always said she's probably one of the classiest, most well-respected women in the game. And even after 40 years, that hasn't changed.
June Olkowski flipping them nets right now. Oh, this is a moment that they have been waiting for. We've all been waiting for so very long. This certainly is the crowning achievement for this team. Mary Coyle now. Here's Patty Coyle. Patty shears a couple of more.
One thing about Rutgers, they didn't underestimate anything. We showed up and we looked really good in our burnt orange and white. But what happened that day, Rutgers showed up to win a championship, and we just showed up.
Here comes Terry Dorner. She gets a big hand.
Coach made us watch them go up the ladder and cut the net and celebrate.
She's all about class. We had to hang around and watch them receive their championship trophy. It was so tough to do. I'll never forget that feeling.
I think that was good for us to see it and to really understand the seriousness of what we were doing.
Gosh, I almost get tears in my eyes now thinking about it. We never expected to come home with a loss.
We were supposed to win that game.
We were devastated.
That was a pretty sad day for us. I think about it all the time. But I can take comfort in knowing we were basically playing and laying the foundation for what was to come.
We went back into the gym the next year with a whole different mindset.
Real competitors are motivated by failure. And that loss, I think it opened my eyes and the eyes of the team as well to realize, okay, we played in what was a national championship game. We played against the best, and we felt like we belonged. So let's go back and let's build on that.
Here's Coach Grentz. He climbs the ladder. Here's the snip, and it's good. There it goes. The Nets down 83-77, the final score.
We went to the press conference afterwards, and they said, you can bring two. And I said, like hell I can bring two. I'm not telling this six which two, so I took all six.
It was the seniors team. I mean, they were just so determined. They went all in.
Seniors Mary and Patty Coyle talked about the end of their college careers and about the greatest win of their lives.
I thought it would happen a lot sooner. We had so much talent the last 4 years. But if any time, I'm glad it happened my senior year.
You dream of coaching a team like that. They were in every poll for 4 straight years.
I took them out for dinner. I think they ordered just about everything on the menu. It took me 2 credit cards to be able to pay that. They deserved that.
The day after we won, we went over to the main campus, to Old Queens, and we got to go into that chapel and sign our name on the inside of that little door and then ring that bell.
Chime for each win. There were 25 of them.
That's when it really struck me, like, oh my goodness, we did a special thing. We really did.
I've often looked at the championship trophies as a coach and said, boy, wouldn't it be great? I'd love to see a team out there. You know, one of my teams go out and get one.
That championship is the most unique of all championships. It was a statement about women making a way for other women to enjoy and participate in sports.
I would make that choice again. So maybe that's proof of the pudding when you look back 40 years and ask whether you'd do it again.
I admired the fact that Rutgers held true to the people that supported them. I admired the fact that Donna Lopiano held true to that organization.
It had to start somewhere. So the AIAW, I think, could take credit for that because it had been the founding force behind women's basketball.
It gave women the first chance to get some notice by creating a March Madness of its own. I think that was important for the growth of the game.
In June 1982, amid soaring legal fees and declining revenue, the AIAW folded. It was the end of one era and the beginning of another, when the gains made by female athletes would come with significant losses for women coaches and administrators.
The deal that the NCAA was offering was not a deal. And instead of owning 100% of women's sports, women are still occupying 33% or below of all NCAA committee positions. To this day, women not only lost control, they lost jobs. And when money came into women's athletics from 75 to 78, when Title IX went into effect, who wanted those jobs? And if the men's athletic director was controlling the athletic department, you hire people who look like you hire people you know, you hire people you trust and will not complain under Title IX. And there was a huge exodus of women, not only from administration, but the coaching ranks. And women still haven't recovered from both of those areas. Women are still terribly underrepresented.
There's so many people that lost their basketball lives because they spoke the truth. I can't forget, I won't forget.
For all the battles still to come, the legacy of the Lady Knights is secure. In the end, they would leave their mark on the sport long after that glorious day in Philadelphia.
Regardless if it was the AIAW, the NCAA, it didn't matter. We won our last college game, and not many people can say that.
It has been forgotten, but you know, it's all good. We're still great friends, and that's what matters to me.
I just look back at our relationships and the fun we had, and I know that I'm really fortunate.
Having gone through what we went through our senior year and what we accomplished, it wasn't talent, it was chemistry.
It was very gratifying. I really felt like they accepted me for what I did for the team, and I felt really, real validated from that.
I feel so proud of the women that I played with. I did not personally achieve what I think I could have done for women's basketball. I wanted to be good, but in the long run, I always had the philosophy if I could make my teammates better, then we were all going to be good together.
Those kids meant an awful lot to me, and they gave me far more than I ever gave them.
You leave a place better than you found it. Yeah. And great point. And hopefully we did that in our time.
I think it speaks volumes to what that team represented. You want to come into the sport and leave it better than when you first came into it. I think we all have been doing that, constantly trying to push and break barriers and make things better. That's what these women built. That's what their legacy was, and we have to continue to carry that tradition on.
You always want more for your players than you had. It's how many years later now you're all together. You all have done great things with your lives, and you're still friends. That to me is the most fun.
Well, I know as a coach, you have teams that you've coached that may be more talented, less talented, but when they have it, then you know that's, and I would say this team had it.
You guys had a good time.
Honestly, if this wasn't being taped, we would probably not be talking about the game at all. We would just be talking about all the things that we did and all the fun that we had and that's what happens when we get together and we're just around hanging out. Those are the things that we talk about, and I think that to me has been the special part about being part of this team.
All I know, it was a pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure, and I'm so glad I experienced it with all of you. So thank you. I don't know where that came from. Let's go get a drink.
Yeah, that's where I am.